Error Analysis Lesson 1. Edward George Fleming, the author of Numbers and Number Systems, has created the Error Analysis Scientific Calculator app for Android smartphones, which you can download for free from the Google Play Store. Go to Google Play and search for the Error Analysis Scientific Calculator app. It calculates the worst-case scenario. You can get the app for free. Install the app and open it. In the app, you can choose between degrees, radians, and gradients. By scrolling through the function bar, you can choose the trigonometric functions and hyperbolic functions. Let's say we have 5 plus or minus 0.5, and we want to find how to correctly write this. All we need to do is hit equals, and there is your answer. It is that simple. The zeros after the 5 and 5.00 are significant. We are saying that the 5 is significant to the 100th place. Also, we can write the answer as 5.00 plus or minus 1%. But let's say you know the plus or minus in percentage, but don't know the plus or minus delta x. To do that, clear the answer first, then enter 5 plus or minus 1%, and then hit equals. And there is your answer. Now let's say I want to know how to correctly write 1200 plus or minus 20. No problem. Simply put it in and hit equals. And there you have it. Notice that there is no decimal point in 1200, which is right, because the 0 in the ones place is not significant. Let's clear that and look at another example. Say we have 1200 plus or minus 2, and we want to know how to correctly write this. Just hit equals. It's that simple. This time there's a decimal point in 1200, because all the numbers are significant, even the 0 in the ones place. Let's say you want to write negative 10 plus or minus 10 correctly. Enter negative, that is the neg key, and 10 plus or minus 10, then hit equals. This time there is no answer that has a plus or minus percentage because 0 lies between the minimum acceptable value and the maximum acceptable value, inclusive. Go to the website www.erroranalysiscalculator.com, and you can get the free Error Analysis Scientific Calculator app on Google Play by clicking on the appropriate link. Play the YouTube video to learn all about the application. Scrolling down, we get the Numbers and Number Systems brief description of what's in the book. Keep on scrolling down, and you can download the book in PDF format for free. Numbers and Number Systems. Error Analysis. Chapter 5. Basics. Before presenting my new approach to error analysis, we need to agree on some basic concepts. If you're already well acquainted with these basics, you may want to jump to Chapter 6, where I have presented my new approach for error analysis. The first principle is that no matter how accurately a person tries to measure something, there is always a room for uncertainty in that measurement. This book, the uncertainty that exists in the measurement, will be called an error. There are basically 3 important numbers to keep track of: the best estimate of the measurement, the minimum acceptable measurement, and the maximum acceptable measurement, as has been described in the following example. Measuring from the satellite to your rooftop and then back to the satellite again. We now have an easy way of writing the value of the measurement x. We can have the best guess value plus or minus delta x, where delta x is the average distance from the best guess to one extreme or the other. The maximum acceptable value minus the best guess value plus the best guess value minus the minimum acceptable value divided by 2 will give you the average distance. Work out the formula is simply taking the maximum value minus the minimum value divided by 2. Then write it as the best guess plus or minus delta x. Assuming that 0 is not between the values of x best minus delta x and x best plus delta x inclusive, we can find the percentage error by dividing delta x by the absolute value of x best and multiplying the result by 100%. Then x equals best guessed estimate plus or minus percent error. Significant digits. Let's suppose that the calculator yields q equals some number plus or minus some other number as an answer to a problem. Writing it like this doesn't make good sense. A person can't simultaneously be that accurate and have an error that is so large. A better way to write the answer would be q equals 2.6 plus or minus 0.5. This leads us to the topic of significant figures. The most significant digit is the first non-zero number, reading from left to right. The number of significant figures displayed is the number of digits, starting with the most significant digit and then counting the digits to the right. When rounding off to n significant figures, we look at the n plus 1 position to the right of the most significant digit. And if it is 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4, we keep the same digit as in the nth position. But if it has a 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9, then we round the nth position up by 1. We can also write an imprecise number with just one number when writing x equals x best, plus or minus delta x as x equals x best. Write x best with the same number of significant figures as you did in x equals x best, plus or minus delta x. The decimal point becomes very important. If there's a decimal point, then all digits are significant. If there is no decimal point, then the trailing zeros may or may not be significant, with the 0 in the ones column as not significant. If you have some trailing zeros which are significant, the best way to write it is in the scientific notation. Get the book, Numbers and Number Systems, and the Error Analysis Scientific Calculator app for free today.